This SoonerScoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. Don't miss a moment on or off the field. Make every day a highlight with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIKs. Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, George Stoya here from the SoonerScoop.com studios. Friday, May 23rd. Brian Harris just committed to Oklahoma. Defensive tackle. We will catch up with Josh McCuistion on Monday to kind of get into everything. I know that we had talked about it, George, on one of the recruiting reports, I think even this week here leading into his announcement. Good pickup for Todd Bates, though.
Yeah, recruiting heating up, too.
Seems like it. Seems like it. 6'4",
needs some more
just
dominoes.
over 300. Pretty big guy.
Yeah.
Really good pickup for Oklahoma and the 2026 class. Welcome back, though. It is another Friday around the quarter. Good win for the Thunder on Thursday night in the BLC.
Gonna sweep them.
Ooh,
gonna sweep.
It's gonna be tough
The
on
Wolves
Saturday.
don't got it. They showed their card when they shoved Shea to the ground like that.
Okay, well, George has been buying into the narratives online. I think Saturday is going to be extremely tough.
Yeah.
They're walking into a hornet's nest.
Yeah, I don't actually think the Thunder are going to sweep, but it would be awesome if they did.
I could maybe get there on a gentleman's sweep, though.
I think so.
Just split up in Minneapolis and then come back and close it out in Game 5. Around the quarter, taking all your questions from the Crimson Quarter and presenting them to you. A little bit of a discussion with them. But before we get to the questions from the Crimson Quarter, let us tell you about our good friends over at Roback, RHOBACK.com. George got the polo on today. The everyday short's a big player right now as it gets a little bit warmer. All you got to do is go to Roback.com, use the promo code Sooner20 for 20% off the Delta Performance Pants, the Looper Pants if you're headed out to the golf course. Very comfortable as well. So just go to Roback.com, Sooner20 for 20% off. Big softball weekend as well. Super Regionals kicking off Friday evening. I guess Friday late afternoon, 4 o'clock for Oklahoma.
Kind of as we're recording this.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be really good. See if they can get there. And then obviously there's going to be some eyes on the rest of the
Could you imagine
of college softball. Maybe a possible Jordy Ball
would be
OU
awesome.
matchup at the College World Series if both were able to get through.
There's a chance that the women's College World Series and the NBA Finals are kind of taking place at the same time in Oklahoma City. Talk about it's the Mecca.
The epicenter of the world. ESPN will be doing all of their broadcasting, hopefully, from Oklahoma City if Patty Gasso and crew can take care of Alabama, trying to avenge a series loss to them about a month and a half ago, something like that.
OU's been playing really well since then.
Been playing much better. We'll see if the Bats continue the hot streak. All right, let's continue on because we do get to the end of May. And, of course, you start getting a little bit taste of college football, right?
Yep.
A lot of anonymous coaches' comments or polls. I don't know how you present it, but a anonymous quote that was out there on, Friday morning, Thursday evening, talking about John Mateer. I'm sure there was a lot of feedback on that. Here is the quote. Quote, "It's a huge gamble that Mateer can come in and immediately acclimate to playing against the defenses in this league. We'll see if he can do it because that's what will determine this staff's future," end quote. That was kind of my first reaction when seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the most obvious comment in the world. And I think it's also, that is also something that you talk about the negative recruiting a lot.
Sure.
We talk about that over on the recruiting report a ton. That's just another way of some coach on a different, at a different school kind of negatively recruiting, at Oklahoma. So it's one of those things where you just kind of say, okay, whatever.
I think it's kind of funny, though, because I would love to know what coach. It's the truth. On top of that, it's one of those things like if that coach needed a quarterback, you don't think he was going to take John Mateer?
Right.
Kind of how that is. Welcome to college football online.
I'm sure a lot of OU fans took that well.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Here are some of the comments on the Crimson Quarter. I'm about to die.
Oh, God.
We're okay now. We're okay now. It's safe to say that if he is a modest upgrade over what he had under center last year, or what we had under center last year, then we will be light years better on offense. Nothing really wrong, per se, with the quotes from an anonymous coach. He'll write now. We are in the talking season, so anybody with a keyboard or microphone has an opinion. A Illini Sooner hits it on the head.
Yeah, well, and look, there's been so much positivity and optimism about John Mateer and what he can bring to this Oklahoma football team. there's also going to be some negativity, right? Like there's going to be it both ways, and especially in the conference, people don't, as we found out last year. The SEC is not always the most welcoming, and especially if a team maybe is really good or has the potential to be. People in the SEC love to tell you how great the SEC is and how hard it is to play in it.
Talking season, Illini Sooner hit it right on the head there. Dr. Maz sounds like an Eli Drinkwitz statement, which I thought was kind of funny because it kind of matches up with what you would think he would say.
100%. I think that you could, I don't think it was a head coach in the conference, I'm sure, but that is certainly something that if you told me he said that in a press conference or if he said it next week down in Destin at spring meetings, that would not surprise me.
No doubt. You'll be headed down there on Monday. The anonymous coach, MG Sooner. Perfect.
This is why you got to sign up for Sooner Scoop. It's obviously the inside info, but that's pretty good right there.
Yeah, it's great. One more 62 sack monster. There is nothing here that isn't true. However, I don't think it's all on Mateer. The offensive line and skill positions need to show up as well. Offensive line is, of course, the biggest question mark yet again. And
100%.
yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what we talked about. We talked about it at the end of, I guess, 2 weeks ago in kind of coming out of the spring. We took a look at the offensive side of the ball as well as the defensive side of the ball. But one of the main talking points in the offensive side of the ball was, Mateer and Arbuckle have a lot of pressure. It's an offensive line that has to take a step. It's a wide receiver group that has question marks, sure, but you feel like if you're going to get the ball to your best players, you have a pretty good skill set to work with.
Look, John Mateer can be the second coming of Baker Mayfield, but if he doesn't have some offensive linemen, playing at a high level in front of him, he's not going to go anywhere. I mean, that offensive line that Baker had back in 2017, 4 NFL draft picks.
Sure. So Joe Moore Award.
Yes, Joe Moore Award. So, and I'm not saying they have to be that good, right? That's really high expectations, but they have to have some talent and some ability up there.
There's been a lot of people that, as we get to this point in the summer, the talking season has begun, but there's also a lot of people that are out there trying to book their trips to Norman.
Yeah.
And I think the prize jewel of that non-conference schedule, obviously, is week 2 against Michigan. The half yard next Thursday, May 29th, will be the release of the first 3 weeks of the ESPN college football schedule. OU Michigan in primetime ESPN/ABC is near certainty given the lack of quality games on that weekend. And yes, I think that's something that we had talked about, George, kind of when everything came together with the scheduling and all that kind of stuff. It seems like week 2, not only is that possibility going to be a night game in Norman, it seems like a pretty good option for College Gameday, who will be in Columbus for week 1.
I think there's a very good chance that College Gameday is back in Norman again this year. You remember they were here last year when Tennessee came to town, so Oklahoma's hoping it to go the other way. But lots of really good storylines with that. Sharon Moore obviously coming back to Norman. Bryce Underwood for Michigan likely you would think would be the starter at quarterback there. Oklahoma, all the new pieces that it's got, make or break year for Brent Venables. And I just looking at the schedule, it's the biggest game that weekend. So I do expect it to be a night game and for Kirk Herbstreit and his dogs to make an appearance.
Absolutely. They will not have his other dog in Lee Corso, though, because it'll be the first week with Game Day without Lee Corso. He's going to go through the first week of the season.
That's kind of crazy.
Up at the Horseshoe at Ohio State for Ohio State and Texas. I know there's been a lot of drama about that kickoff time. It feels good, let me tell you. It feels
Have they
good.
announced it?
Well, it's 11. It's noon.
Yeah,
but it's I think Ohio State wanted the night game.
Yeah.
They went to Texas basically, as the report goes, then wanted to change it. I don't know what the time was that they wanted to change it to or get it out of that morning kickoff. Texas is like, no, we're going to play it at the time that it's scheduled.
Of course,
so
Texas.
A little bit of drama on the scheduling front. What would a Soonerscoop.com YouTube show be without a little Jaden O'Neal, Bo Bentley discussion? We talked about that on the recruiting report this week. The JSUM 81 isn't the most obvious answer, is that Bentley is OU's priority target, but to keep O'Neal in the fold in case Bentley goes to LSU. OU has cooked up this narrative that they want 2 quarterbacks in the class and have sold the O'Neals on this idea. Why else would that not have told OU to kick rocks? Josh McQuistion chimed in. I mean, he's taking visits all over the place this spring, summer. That doesn't feel, quote unquote, sold to me.
I don't know what OU's pitching to either of these guys. It is odd that Jaden hasn't decommitted at this point, considering how many visits he's taken. And I know OU went and visited him, this past week. But I just think the reality of OU landing both of these guys at the end of the day is just
slim.
Yeah, I think that it's not going to happen. Maybe I'm wrong.
And what a win that would be for Ben Arbuckle to come in and get
massive.
Two top-rated guys in a 2026 class.
Yeah, it would be massive. And, I think it feels like Bowe Bentley's kind of the top priority there. So I think we're going to have an answer in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Sure. I really do. I think Bowe's going to make a decision, after his 2 visits. And then, it comes down to Jaden O'Neal. Does he stick? Does he not? I mean, and if Bowe Bentley, picks LSU, then Jaden O'Neal, does he stay with OU, or does OU have to go to a third option? Like, what does that look like?
If you don't get Bowe Bentley and then all of a sudden Jaden O'Neal decides, well, I don't want to be there either.
And that would be a catastrophe.
That's the the catastrophic portion that will act like maybe not going to be a possibility until it is, and then we'll say, oh, F, and we'll talk about it here, I'm sure. Yeah. All right, let's continue on. Postseason awards for softball, or for football. I saw the Rush's big softball, and I was thinking softball. Softball's on the brain these days. Thinking ahead to the postseason, or the post-2025 football season, OU-only team awards. Who do you think will win? Let's start with newcomer of the year, George.
So I actually answered this. This was in my mailbag, which people should go check out. You can ask those questions. I picked newcomer, I believe Kendall Daniels.
Okay.
I think a lot of people would pick John Mateer. That's a great pick.
It's an easy pick.
But I picked him for the offensive player of the year. If Carrie could pull that back up, we could run through these. Newcomer of the year, I said Kendall Daniels. Freshman, I said Elijah Thomas.
Okay.
Comeback, I said Gentry Williams. I
like that.
I almost picked Kendall Dolby, but I think if Gentry can stay healthy, then he's the obvious choice.
With as many injuries as they had last year, there's plenty to pick from.
Yeah. Offensive player, I said John Mateer. I almost picked Jaden Knott because I think Jaden Knott could fall in newcomer or offensive, but ended up with Mateer. And then defensive player of the year, I think I picked Kip Lewis.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I'll just go quickly. Defensive player of the year, I'll go Ormason Thomas. Offensive player of the year, Mateer. Comeback player of the year, I'll just go opposite of you. I'll go Kendall Dolby.
Yeah.
Freshman of the year, man, it's hard to go by Elijah Thomas with all the buzz that came out of the spring, but I'll just go different just for the hell of it. Michael Fasusi. I think he ends up starting by the middle of the year. And then newcomer of the year, I think you're dead on. It's hard to go by Kendall Daniels. I mean, if he's that perfect cheetah that they've been looking for, I guess it would go against my comeback player of the year in Kendall Dolby.
Yeah.
But I think that they got some pretty good options there for the newcomer side of it. Maybe some, I guess it's not even maybe. Omit the maybe. Some bad news out of the athletic department. It was reported by the OU Daily on Thursday that they're going to have to make some cuts within the athletic department. And George, I know that you talked to some folks within the athletic department. It doesn't seem like it's just a massive deal, but Suitor 15 did want to chime in. The OU Daily reports Oklahoma is planning to lay off 5% of its athletic staff, which equates to roughly 15 positions, as a result of the changing economic landscape of the industry. Sooner Athletic Director Joe Castiglione, in an email to the department, quote, "This is the only expected reduction in force of our department. We remain steadfast in our commitment to you and to the mission that drives us, serving our student athletes and representing the University of Oklahoma with pride and integrity," end quote. As a result, Castiglione also plans to adjust his own compensation. Just sharing. Good article that also mentions restructuring of divisions within the department and leadership reporting changes relating thereto. And yeah, I mean, it's a big department. It sucks to see people lose their jobs, obviously. But, I think that much like I think A&M did this about a year ago, laid off a bunch of, I think a lot of social media stuff.
Yeah.
It just seems like this is kind of the changing of the times, and people are going to have to adapt within athletic departments.
Yeah, look, I mean, OU doesn't have the luxury that some of these other schools do in terms of, financial resources at their fingertips, like a Texas, right? And so OU has to make.
I think Texas has even done the same within their athletic department,
and it just shows you that the craziness that's going on in college athletics. But it's my understanding, these 15 people or 5% of however many employees. I think it's 302 employees in the athletic department. I don't think they're like super high up. You're not going to see like somebody that is very well known be laid off, and I think it just sucks. Because there are really good people in the athletic department, but It's just the changing of the times, and like Joe C said in that story too, even he's taking a pay cut, which is kind of crazy to think about the athletic director having to take a pay cut as well.
I'm sure that the comment section will say long overdue for
he shouldn't be paid anything.
Yeah, he should be doing it for free. If you've been online and you're following the NBA playoffs, there's a lot of hate for the Oklahoma City Thunder, which I think that we both agree. Like, the more hate, the better. I love it. I love it.
Keep hating us. We love that.
Keep hating it. I'm sure that there's a lot of people, a lot of Oklahoma City Thunder fans. It's kind of a unique mesh of Thunder fans, Dallas Mavericks fans on the Crimson Quarter, as well as probably a couple else. But Jackie Daytona 213. I love all the Thunder hate, but really it's not everyone. Even Stephen A. is a fan of the Thunder. Perk is a fan. Paul Pierce is a fan, and more national analysts are jumping on board. The typical characters are talking blank because they have to. I think a lot of the hate is just people with
burners,
bunch of burner accounts, a bunch of numbers in the profiles.
And Bill Simmons, who's
is Bill Simmons a hater? I didn't know.
Well, he was the one that tweeted out, I think it was during Game 1, about SGA and getting all these calls and all this stuff. But I will say Bill did his podcast, I think after last night's game, was talking about how the Thunder are going to go down as one of the greatest teams of all time. And that's the thing, is like, I think that there's some people frustrated with the Thunder, and a lot of times those voices can be very loud because people love to feed into that narrative. There's also a lot of people on the Thunder side, especially national media. Stephen A. has certainly come to Oklahoma City's defense. Richard Jefferson, I know on the broadcast, was coming to Shea's defense specifically. So there's a lot of hate. We love the hate. The people out in Denver, God bless them. We love their tears.
Brain dead. They're brain dead. Like half of Denver radio, and I'm sure that you listened to some of these guys when you were living up there.
Morons.
Unbelievable. And I love it. I can't get enough of it. I tweeted the other day, it's like, I know I need to start focusing on the Minnesota series, but I can't get enough of these people.
Oh, these are the people that were saying, Teddy Bridgewater didn't play hard enough. At least that's when I was there, and that Drew Lock's got to be the starter, and then Drew Lock comes in and throws 3 interceptions and stinks. So these people are morons out in Denver.
I love it. Keep it going. And, it was kind of interesting, too, that the fouls and all that kind of stuff, Thunder certainly didn't get the whistle on in game 2.
Not at all. And
they
still beat their ass.
Shot less free throws, and they still got beat by 15.
And they shot 20-something% from 3.
You think Thunder fans are cocky now? Just wait until this thing starts picking up and you get to the NBA Finals, possibly win a championship. We'll be the most insufferable group you've ever come across. I'm just warning people.
I will say the Thunder thread on the board is one of my favorites. It's fun. There's a lot of, especially during the games, there's a lot of melting down during the games, and then obviously after the games, just talking a lot of trash.
Yeah, halfway home to an NBA Finals return trip. All right, one more to get through here before Jay Gilstrap. Explain Washington State 2024 with Arbuckle, QB coach, and QB1 losing last 4 games of the year. For real, Washington State loses. That's how I'm just reading what's spelled there. Grammar. Loses the last 4 games of the year. 3 of the 4 losses were to below 500 teams. Does anyone have any intel on what the heck that was about? We give Arbuckle an $800,000 raise, and brings his quarterback coach and QB, who spent a crap load for. Did anyone else see that final stretch of the season for Washington State? I think everybody saw the end of it. And, I would refer back to the Oklahoma Breakdown podcast when they had Ryan Leaf on, and he was kind of talking about the weirdness around the program. There wasn't a whole lot to play for after they lost that one game. Meant that they were probably, their season was over. Not saying that's an excuse by any means, but it kind of is what it is. Who cares? And it read like a little bit of a troll post.
Definitely. I think it was a little bit of a troll post, and that's sometimes hard to decipher. But what I'll say about it is, at that point in time, like you said, once they lost one game, it's like, well, what are they playing for? Their head coach was kind of out the door. He's now at Wake Forest, I believe. Arbuckle was already talking to Oklahoma at this point. And I think that their defense was not very good last year. There was a lot of inconsistencies on that side of the ball, and the offense didn't play well down the stretch either, at least not as well as it had earlier in the season. So I think all of those things played a factor. I think they also played one game that was kind of fluky, where they lost at the end. I can't remember if it was the Wyoming game or a different game.
And it was the Wyoming game that they lost. It was And no disrespect to the fine people of Pullman. It's Washington State. They didn't go out and get the Washington State football team in the transfer portal.
No.
They got a player, and they got a pretty damn good offense coordinator that I think a lot of people are excited about around.
Well,
here.
and I think I think they also had some injury stuff late in the season on the offensive line. I just think that with Mateer and the weapons that he'll now have around him, and he had some pretty good weapons in Washington State. I mean, Kyle Williams obviously was a great wide receiver for them, but I think the talent, and then also pairing it with a really good defense that is going to be consistent every single week, I think is only going to elevate those two on the offensive side of the ball.
And only time will tell for John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle, as we are about to embark on about a 3-month process where that's all we'll talk about. We won't talk about anything else other than John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle, the pressure that comes with Oklahoma's offense, and, of course, the expectations that come with playing at Oklahoma and coaching at Oklahoma, calling plays for Oklahoma specifically. He has a bad game against Illinois State or something. People will have opinions. People will have opinions. All right. We enjoy doing these on Friday. Big weekend. Bob Persbillo will be anchoring coverage out at Love's Field as Oklahoma and Alabama get tangled up for a super regional starting on Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock. You're headed to Florida.
Yep.
For the spring meetings, for the SEC spring meetings. You were down there a year ago, kind of got the lay of the land. And we'll have another preview of kind of everything that's going to go into spring meetings, what could be talked about, what could be decided. Will there be anything decided? And we'll have another preview show for that here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel. For George Stoya, I'm Eddie Radosevich. We'll see you back here next time.